On today's episode of the podcast, more immediate fallout regarding Bash in Berlin, who will be Cody Rhodes' next challenger for the WWE title, and the curious case of Kevin Owens. All of this and more on today's episode. What is going on, wrestling fans? Welcome back to another episode of the J Area Podcast. My name is Jose Ramos Jr., and we just saw WWE Bash in Berlin this past weekend. Another successful PLE, I might add, for the WWE. I love that they're traveling overseas, traveling around the world, and really presenting an opportunity for other countries, other fan bases to really enjoy these big events. I hope they keep moving forward. Me, being of Mexican descent, I'm really hoping that one day we get a PLE in Mexico. I think that'd be super cool, especially given the roster and how diverse it is regarding its Hispanic wrestlers. But nonetheless, we talk about WWE Bash in Berlin. If you haven't already seen my immediate post-show reaction to WWE Bash in Berlin, please do so. Check that out as we dive in as to the immediate results and moving forward storylines coming out of that event. But if you watch that episode, if you watch that video, you would know that one of, if not my favorite match of the event itself, was that of the opener, really. WWE Champion Cody Rhodes defending his title against his challenger, Kevin Owens. I thought that this match was a well-crafted story, not only in ring, but just heading into it in terms of the build. You can criticize Cody Rhodes' reign all you want, because there's people out there who discuss how it's really been a reign focused on respect. Cody Rhodes fought AJ Styles, Logan Paul, Kevin Owens most recently, and it all had that underlying theme of respect for his opponents. I think that's the right way to go with Cody Rhodes. I feel like we're in store for a long title reign with Cody Rhodes. At the very bare minimum, I could see him holding it till WrestleMania 41. We got so used to seeing Roman Reigns as the champion. He held that title for 4 years, for God's sakes. I think we're going to see not as long of a title reign with Cody Rhodes, but something that will allow the character to evolve. Cody Rhodes has been, as of recently, as of his return to the WWE following his run in AEW, has been presented as this baby face who has these morals. He has these high values that keep him as the traditional babyface, a traditional babyface that we really haven't seen since like the New Generation era or the Golden era, because there's always been this gray line of the heroes and are they good or are they bad. And now with Cody Rhodes, for the first time in a long time, we have someone that men, women, and children all can get behind. So when I look at Cody Rhodes in this title reign, I feel like it's edging itself little by little into some sort of character development. Can he trust those closest to him? AJ Styles is someone that he had never had a match with, someone he never really interacted with the exception of a text message that they talked about. Logan Paul is an outsider, came over from YouTube, came over from Vine, from a celebrity status, and is now a member of the WWE roster. Solo Sikoa, someone Cody Rhodes really hasn't had any interaction with aside from the interference during the Bloodline storyline and his run for the WWE title. But to have a one-on-one match on a big stage like that, kind of foreign for Cody and Solo. Then we move to Kevin Owens, someone that Cody has a long-running history with. For those who remember, Cody Rhodes, before he made his excursion outside of the WWE and going to the independent scene, Kevin Owens was the one that recommended Cody, go see the Young Bucks, go talk to these guys, they're friends of mine, they'll help you on your little journey. And that, of course, ensued into becoming the Elite, becoming a member of the Bullet Club, becoming one of the key principal factors in the creation of All Elite Wrestling. Cody Rhodes' story isn't something that is something short. It's not something you can tell in the short term, rather. It takes time. Look at the best things in WWE right now. The Bloodline story, Punk versus McIntyre, the Judgment Day, and its evolution. All stories that have been told over the course minimum of a year, having underlying themes that everyone can apply to their own lives. Cody Rhodes, I feel like this match against Kevin Owens really learned something. Not only about himself, but about his opponents, about his friends. Cody Rhodes heading into this matchup assured Kevin Owens that his knee was 100%. Because Kevin told him, I know about your knee. I know you're hurt. And Cody trying to brush it off, saying, I'm fine, I'm 100%. But in that match, we saw instances where Cody wasn't 100%. He was clearly in discomfort, again, at the minimum, whether he's injured or not. And he has to recognize that. Someone like Kevin Owens, who had that compassion, who had that sympathy for Cody, that opened the door for Cody to retain his title. But that's not to say that Kevin Owens will do it again, or that another opponent will have the same sort of sympathy for Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes earned that victory. Kevin Owens, I believe, isn't finished. I love that matchup for, again, two reasons. One, the in-ring story that they told, but also the implications that will follow heading into the fall now. Because it's now looking like it's two different roads here. Where are we going to go with Cody? Where are we going with Kevin? I stick with Cody. And I look at his presentation, his character. He's not turning heel. There's a lot of people saying in this storyline between Kevin and Cody, who's turning on who. Cody's not turning. WWE would be foolish to turn Cody Rhodes heel. He is their first genuine babyface in decades. Not only in terms of fan support, but in terms of sales, in terms of marketing. He's been consistently one of their number one sellers in terms of merchandise, in terms of appearances, social media engagement. They are not turning him heel. Kevin Owens is certainly the guy to look at. And that leads me to the curious case of Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, I think, is one of the best characters WWE has had in quite some time. Whether they were promoting him as a top star, a top main eventer or not, consistently, his character work, his in-ring work, just overall Kevin Owens has been a valuable player when it comes to the WWE roster. He's among one of the few guys who openly recognizes like the WWE tropes. We recently saw like on an episode of SmackDown where it was the Grayson Waller effect. And Grayson Waller, Austin Theory were talking down to Cody. They were insulting Cody, insinuating that he couldn't trust Kevin. And Kevin comes out saying, hey, there's already 4 of us here. There's 2 of you there, 2 of us here. We know what's going to happen. Let's just make the tag team match already. Kevin is one of the more highly intelligent, wrestlers that's being portrayed on pro wrestling. I look at it in the sense of like if it was Looney Tunes. And you have the Bugs Bunny character who knows all the tropes. He knows all the jokes. He knows everything. He'll break the fourth wall. Kevin Owens is very much of that character. Self-aware. In a phrase, he's self-aware. So to see Kevin Owens have that internal struggle during his matchup against Cody Rhodes in Berlin, that is real character development. He could have easily had turned on Cody, just like he did to Sammy, just like he did to Kofi, just like he did countless of times to all his friends and his partners in the past. But he realized internally he could not do it. He didn't want a tainted victory. He could have went after that knee a lot more than he did. He took one good shot on the outside. He could have hit the power bomb on the apron, but he didn't. And I feel like that's something Kevin Owens is going to have to deal with. He's going to have to realize, like, I could have won the championship. I should have won that WWE title. But my pride, my conscience got the best of me. And in the WWE, the pride and conscience will only get you so far. Kevin Owens, the prize fighter, the one that we all knew that was introduced in NXT, that early run with the Universal Championship, he's a killer. He doesn't care who you are, what you've done for him, or what you've done for the WWE audience. He doesn't care. What is in my best interest? And I feel like that's the slow turn that we're going to have with Kevin Owens. I personally don't like when a storyline will hit us with a swerve just for the sake of a swerve, just for the sake of a twist. I enjoy it when we see these little signs. We pick up on the intricate details of a character and of the details of the story. And yeah, granted, we see it coming, but we never see when. There's been instances where the WWE will have little hints and they don't feed on that. They don't pay it off until well over months later down the line. I think that's what we're going to see with Kevin. Kevin will continue to help Cody. Kevin will continue to support Cody. Kevin will continue to be the babyface that he's been for the last several years. But I think little by little, we're going to see a more aggressive side of Kevin. We're going to see a more competitive side of Kevin until the point where whether it's Cody or someone else like Randy, I don't know, and he's had enough. He's going to see them succeed. He's going to see them win and realize I had that opportunity. I had that chance and I didn't do it. Now I have to take matters into my own hands. My most successful run in the WWE was when I was on my own and I was beating anybody and everybody. Kevin Owens is going to have to go back to that. And it brings me back to a previous storyline. And that's one thing I kind of want to incorporate more on the podcast. This is more of like a historical sense in wrestling, especially when it comes to like a personal story. I remember growing up, it was the year 2005. I just turned 7, right? A very young Jose. And one of the predominant storylines that were being told on WWE TV was Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. Now, of course, if you're not new to the channel, you would know this is a storyline that I enjoy talking about frequently because it really helped mold what I believe professional wrestling could be. What kind of source of entertainment I was looking forward to when it came to their storylines. You took 2 of the best wrestlers in the world, 2 of the more recognizable wrestlers on the roster, and you had them in a long, drawn-out storyline that evolved. It was well documented that Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio were best friends, close like family. They had their run-ins in WCW, they both came to WWE, and it was clear that they had this bond that was close like a lot of brothers. And in the year 2004, Rey Mysterio was the Cruiserweight champion. He was basically running that division alongside the likes of Tajiri. We had Jamie Noble, Funaki, Spike Dudley was there, Paul London. There were so many names in the Cruiserweight division. Meanwhile, Eddie Guerrero was finally breaking away from the mid-card and was becoming the WWE champion at No Way Out 2004 by defeating Brock Lesnar, albeit with an assist from Bill Goldberg. But they don't talk about that a lot. Eddie Guerrero was on top of the world. He was a WWE champion, he was the face of the company, and he had, I thought, one of the better runs as a babyface in the year 2004. He had great matches against the likes of Kurt Angle, great matches against the likes of JBL, and in the fall, we saw him participate and tag team more with Rey Mysterio, really feeding into that kayfabe and work shoot style of best friendship. We saw that in 2005, Rey Mysterio lost his tag team partner RVD due to an injury and was seeking help from someone else in contention for the WWE tag titles. He turned to Eddie. Eddie Guerrero, a year after winning the WWE Championship at No Way Out 2004, at No Way Out 2005, he and Rey would win those tag titles, setting in motion for, I think, one of the best heel storylines, heel evolutions that the WWE has told. Now, personally, that could be biased because I grew up around that time and I hold fond memories over the year 2005. But I still think when you have someone of the caliber of Eddie Guerrero, much like the caliber of Kevin Owens, who no matter what they touch, turns to gold. Eddie Guerrero first had this storyline rivalry with Rey Mysterio based on competition, friendly competition. They both agreed, let's have a match at WrestleMania. You're not doing anything, I'm not doing anything. For the first time ever, let's have a set of tag team champions compete one-on-one at WrestleMania. Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero would have one of the better openers in WrestleMania history, short of only like WrestleMania 10 and WrestleMania 30. Those openers, I mean, it goes without saying. Rey Mysterio would defeat Eddie, setting in motion again the long evolution, the long heel turn for Eddie. Eddie becoming consumed with the idea, like, I haven't beaten Rey. He's the one guy I haven't beaten. Why can't I beat him? Until he finally snapped in April of 2005, turning his back on Rey Mysterio, violently beating him down and leaving him in a heap of his own blood. They would have a match at Judgment Day. They would have a match at Great American Bash, both won by Rey Mysterio. And Eddie Guerrero, over the course of the months, became increasingly violent. Again, obsessed with defeating Rey Mysterio to the point where it became personal and he was beginning to air dirty laundry. Of course, I'm referring to the story of Dominic Mysterio, a story that is still being told to this day between Dom and Rey Mysterio. Long-term storytelling at its finest. He reveals that he is actually the father, he being Eddie Guerrero, is the actual father of Dominic Mysterio, and that Rey and Angie had adopted Dominic as they were unable to have children at that point. They were struggling, again, in kayfabe. Leading to the custody of Dominic, the ladder match at SummerSlam 2005. Funny enough, it was the very first pay-per-view that we had bought as a family. And that was one of the main reasons why, was to see this ladder match. Eddie Guerrero, again, fails to defeat Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio gains custody of his son, Dominic. And we took a little bit of a hiatus from that story, but it would culminate in a steel cage match on the very first Friday night SmackDown, because SmackDown used to air on Thursdays, in a steel cage match where Eddie Guerrero had the opportunity to leave the cage, escape the cage, defeating Rey, but he said, no, I'm going back in that cage. Hits a frog splash and pins Rey Mysterio for the first time in his career, ending what I thought was one of the storybook endings to a high intensity feud between Rey and Eddie Guerrero. I have so many fond memories watching that. It became appointment television for my family and I. Every week we had to tune in and see what was Eddie going to say, how was Rey going to fight back, and who was going to win the next match. Now, I'm not saying that Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes is going to be like that, but I think when you take the Kevin Owens story, it can be told in a similar manner. The only complaint, the only concern I have is Sami Zayn. I love seeing Sami and Kevin together, but I don't know if I can take another Kevin Owens heel turn on Sami Zayn. I feel like it has to steer away from Sami Zayn. If he were to attack Cody in that manner, then I think we have something. Then I think we have some compelling stories to be told, because right now, as it currently stands, SmackDown is very light on the heel side of the roster. You look at how the SmackDown roster is currently comprised, and there's not many real viable threats in terms of the heels. That's why it's become a struggle to find an opponent for Cody Rhodes. Again, AJ Styles, Logan Paul, Solo Sikoa, Kevin Owens is a babyface. And apparently now we're gearing up for another Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes matchup. Apparently at Bad Blood, it's not finalized, it's not official, but that's what the story's kind of hinting at. We knew Solo on Friday Night SmackDown had made it clear his intention was Kevin Owens or Cody Rhodes. Regardless of who wins, I'm coming. I got next. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not a fan of it. And I'm very complimentary when it comes to the WWE or AEW. I try to highlight the positive sides. There's so much negativity online about what WWE does wrong or does different, what AEW does wrong or does different. Me personally, I'm just trying to enjoy pro wrestling for what it is. I don't try to look at the negatives. But when I look at the Solo Sikoa Cody Rhodes feud, not something I'm really highly invested in. Yes, it's the bloodline, but the bloodline story really is Solo Sikoa versus Roman. Now, unless Roman Reigns were to interject himself in the build up to Bad Blood and say, no, you're not facing Cody, you're facing me. Okay, that leads me to believe we have something down the line for Cody and we can focus on this. But then you look at the roster. Who is Cody really going to face other than Solo Sikoa? You look at some of the short list of names. I'm not going to go, I don't want to repeat. I don't want AJ Styles again, although I would love to see a match. That's not necessarily a story we need. We don't need him against Logan Paul. The more we stay away from him, the better. We don't need him against Solo. I think you still rock with the Kevin story, personally. I don't think that story's finished. I think that's the way to go. But let's go ahead and take a look at other viable options. On Friday Night SmackDown, I look at three names that are a possible opponent for Cody Rhodes. First off, I'm thinking Santos Escobar. Now, in terms of credibility, he may not be the best, but what is he doing right now? Yes, his tag team, his they're currently in a feud with Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews, but that leaves room for Santos. He just lost against LA Knight in his United States Championship matchup. Who's to say he doesn't go over and just face Cody Rhodes for a one-match program? Again, long term, I don't think it works, but it's a possibility. Another name that I look at is Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke Nakamura and Cody, yes, they did have their never-ending feud, last year. But in terms of the heel side, it's that light. Again, it would have to work for a one-match program for the PLE of Bad Blood. But then that leads me to Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, I think, is the way to go. Have it become this thing where Kevin Owens can ask for a rematch, saying, you know what, I didn't want that initial one, and you were hurt. You weren't 100%. I would love to just face you one-on-one, no BS. What do you say? Or you can even have it go the babyface route again and say, Cody Rhodes, hey, you gave me your best shot, Kevin. It was a great match, but like you said, my knee, I wasn't 100%. So you know what? Let's run it back. Those are possible outcomes. Those are possible reasons to have a rematch between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. But the route that they're going with Solo Sikoa, although I suppose it makes sense. Solo Sikoa, believing he's the tribal chief, wants all the big shots. He wants all the attention. It makes sense. But in terms of repetition, and I know it could be contradictory because we just had the Kevin Owens match, but that's because it's still a story being told. We were telling the Solo Sikoa versus Cody story. Took a break and then go back. I don't know. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. What do you think about a potential Solo versus Cody matchup? Do you think the Kevin Owens story is finished, or should we have another match at Bad Blood? You guys go ahead and let me know down in the comments. But that leads me again to believe about the perception of wrestling fans and the preference of professional wrestling fans. We all have our opinions. We're entitled to them, and they're just that. They're our opinions. But I've seen a lot of discourse lately within the wrestling community regarding these pay-per-views and PLEs and the match length and the match card, really. You look at WWE, and in the last year, it's really been 5 to 6, 7, if we're lucky, matches on a card. And then AEW presents like 10 to 12 matches. And that's because AEW is really heavily focused on match quality. They're not really invested in the pomp and circumstance or the interviews or the promos. It's really wrestling based. WWE, on the other hand, they enjoy having their hype packages, the promos, the interviews. They enjoy having these entrances that are really drawn out and allow fan participation, but also that of a moment to go viral, if you will. And the WWE really eats it up when it comes to presentation. And it's up to your preference. Me, I enjoy having both sides of the coin. If I want just pure wrestling, I have AEW. They are very, very, very well at telling in-ring stories and having fantastic athletic bouts between some of the best that they have to offer. And then when I want something more dramatic, something more story-based, I have the WWE. That's why I enjoy watching both. If you ask me what I would prefer, I think there can be some AEW pay-per-views where having 10 plus matches can seem a little bit drawn out. So by the time you get to that, the second to last match right before the main event, you might suffer a little burnout. But then with the WWE's 5-match rule, I kind of want a little more. I've always thought growing up, especially during the Ruthless Aggression era, that 7-8 match card, I think that's really the sweet spot. It's not too much, it's not too less, it's just that right little sweet spot. You have your main matches, your main stories, you have a couple mid-card matches to help build up whoever that star may be, and then of course you have your fun athletic bouts. And that's one thing that I think both companies not are struggling, but they need to consider, is that little sweet spot. One might give you a little too much, the other might not be giving you enough, but regardless, they keep you having you to come back. And that's something that I'm very much a fan of. I enjoy the presentation of both promotions, of both companies. They have their both distinct feels when it comes to their presentation, but with these last couple weeks, we've had AEW All In, we had Bash in Berlin. At this time of recording, we're still awaiting NXT No Mercy, and then next week we have AEW All Out. We are spoiled as professional wrestling fans, and I think it's such a wonderful time to follow the sport, follow the product, and that's not even to mention other promotions like TNA, like New Japan. There are so many other promotions to keep up with. No chance of slowing down in terms of the pro wrestling fatigue. I'm looking forward to a lot of aspects, to the evolution, to the changes that professional wrestling will endure, because we've seen so much over the course of not only this last couple years, but of course, decades. It's an ever evolving sport. And especially with the WWE making its changes not only to its roster lineups, but as well as the scheduling and really the channels that it will be presented on. We know that SmackDown will be moving to USA Network. We know that the CW will gain the rights to NXT. And with January just around the corner, Netflix will be receiving Monday Night Raw. So a lot of great news, a lot of big news regarding the WWE. And in turn, I think it will also influence that of other wrestling promotions. We know we've had those rumors about AEW having a streaming service platform on something like Max, which I think would be great. That way it would allow fans to go back and watch previous episodes of Dynamite, maybe even previous pay-per-view events that folks really enjoy and they want to run back. Regardless, I think professional wrestling is in a really good spot. I feel like a broken record every time I say that, but it's because it's true. Pro wrestling is the best it's been in quite some time, and I look forward to it. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this episode of the J Area Podcast. Of course, don't forget to like, comment down below as well your thoughts on the Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa story, as well as Kevin Owens' potential heel turn. Don't forget to subscribe for more pro wrestling content such as this, and don't forget to check out the past few post-show reaction videos I've been uploading, whether it's the All In event, whether it's No Mercy, we have Bash in Berlin. I'll be releasing a prediction video for AEW All Out some point this week, so go ahead and keep an eye out for those as well. Of course, thank you guys for joining me on the podcast. I'll see you guys next time.